How to naturally achieve outstanding human abilities without using technology. In 1997, I got acquainted with meditation. Since then, I use different practices, including some things of intuitive nature. As a result, a few years ago, I got a strong awareness of that we should not have followed the technogenic way. I think it would have been better if we had developed some soulful qualities instead.
Дело в том, что не только техногенный путь опасен, но и противоположный путь тоже опасен. Это уход в
Not only is
природу.
the technogenic way dangerous, but also the opposite way is also dangerous. It is a return to nature. I did not mean returning to nature.
Да, так и есть уже
I meant that
эволюционная
instead,
какая-то
we should turn to
нормальная
self-knowledge.
вещь.
I have a feeling that in that case, we could just teleport or just levitate. Yes, it
Конечно.
already exists. In other scenarios, these are quite normal things. We could easily levitate and we would not need any auxiliary facilities.
Сейчас объясню.
Phones or TVs would be completely unnecessary. Sure. Why do we need all this? Meditation is open. Why is it so difficult to direct people, to inflame them in some way? Why is it so difficult for a lot of people to accept the information? For the vast majority of people. Yes, the vast majority prefers alcohol, cigarettes, some more primitive things for a short-term euphoria, rather than getting real pleasure from communicating with themselves and disclosing their own potential. People are afraid of the word meditation. People are afraid of the word God. People are afraid of the word intuition, or such unseen, invisible things. Although the things that could be done in meditation are so powerful that I, as a person who has been practicing healing for 15 years, feel sorry that this potential is not used completely, because it can be done simply only by straining and relaxing the mind, and using spiritual qualities and feelings. But it's not to be used by people. It is so much blocked in people. Until you show that it really exists, a man would not believe it. So far, something that is not visible, people don't take for granted. If something is not visible and you cannot touch it, then it is as if it does not exist. Why is it so difficult for people to perceive these things? First, a great deal is hidden from us. There are a lot of scientists who are working at the government level of very developed countries. They don't disclose all the information they own. This information is closed, and a lot of those things you are talking about have already been achieved technically. For example, the instantaneous movement in space, passing through walls. All of this already exists. But in rare instances, is it inherent in the human nature? No, that is carried out by technical means. That is not something that exists in our nature. It is not our properties. For example, on the level of properties of our forms, we pass through a wall properly, without any losses in physiology. But while passing through a wall with the help of technical means, part of our biological system remains in a wall, and part of the wall structure transit into intermolecular space of our nucleic complexes. This small example shows the big difference between what we could achieve by ourselves and what is achieved by means of technical devices.
For example, telepathy. There are already devices that can unpack, decipher man's thoughts at a distance. But they give very close, obscure decoding. It is such an imperfect system that in no way can it be compared with what we have in our brain, with our ability to accept telepathisms and immediately unpack certain sovereign forms. I have answered your question. Why is it so difficult? Because we got the genes that are activated in this direction. To change the situation now, we need to educate people on the genetic level, in whose self-consciousness will be powerfully realized the idea of intellectual, altruistic development. That is, serving for people, serving for the society, on the basis of deepening into self-development, on the basis of deeper self-knowledge. The current modern science does not give answers to questions you ask, and questions that people are asking themselves. Ideology answers these questions because, in fact, this knowledge is brought from the future, from those favorable scenarios of the future to which we could come with the help of ideology. That is ideology, is brought from those scenarios. Where not only thousands of people had been interested in ideology, and where I had started writing it not in 2005, but much earlier. And there its development had gone further, and there people's interest in it was much broader, deeper, and more active. In those scenarios where it all started more actively, we had been able to merge with more qualitative continuums where our abilities had already developed. They appeared automatically, without the use of any technical means, just only due to the fact that our levels of consciousness became safe for the society and have been working in a more creative direction. As soon as we begin to develop in the human direction by our synthesis scheme, intellect plus altruism, immediately there appear conditions for the development of all sorts of abilities that we call telepathy, telekinesis, and other extrasensory abilities. Thus, the more people will take this path, the sooner they will begin to change not only their fate and their lives. The life will become more conflict-free. There will be more favorable conditions for the development of their self-consciousness. But they will faster begin to receive their own information. Therefore, in the situation you have outlined, a very tragic situation for the humanity, the only way to refocus people from these scenarios, and even the worst ones, into better scenarios, is to refocus their development from selfishness to altruism. From rationality and rationalism to intellect and positive intuition. And then everything will begin to change. The more there are people who practice it, the sooner the process will begin to turn towards the direction of the human development.